I walked like a man. Because why? The day I was leaving his house, close to his gate, he called me and I turned back. He said, "You, hunger will carry you come back here." Now I pack sand for him compound there. I called his name. I said, "Chidi, if I have done anything wrong to you, may that hunger carry me come back. But if I've not done anything to you," I turned back. And I was walking through the streets. I was talking to myself, hunger will carry you come back. Don't let that one happen. I was just like, I hustled like a man, day and night. Not to run over you. I don't sell indomie for streets. I don't sell recharge card. I don't sell popcorn. I don't work for Bet Ninja. And today, I did not believe that I would be paying people salary.
Wow, what an amazing story of resilience. I'm so proud of this sister for choosing to stand up for herself against all odds and all that. And there are so many things we can learn from her experience, because obviously wise people learn from the mistakes of others instead of waiting to go through that same thing before you now learn. Because what's the guarantee that if you go through the same thing that one person went through, that you will also be able to come out alive and safe and well the same way that the other party went through it. So what are some things we can learn? First thing I want us to learn from her story is that when a man is telling you, leave your career, leave your job, leave school, leave that, don't worry, just stay at home, I will take care of you. You're the mother of my children. I don't want you to stress yourself. Stay at home, look good for me, nurse the children, and that's all. I will provide. It's not always a sign of romance. That rose that they're offering you is not always without thorns, right? Because that is the first step towards putting a woman in a place of vulnerability. Because a lot of men that are going into relationships nowadays are not going in because they want somebody that they can build with. So the person is building them and they are building the person. They don't want, most of them are looking for someone that they can take from. How much can I take? How much can I take? So when they put a woman in that place of vulnerability, which is usually offered as a good deal, this is a winning lottery ticket. What that does to you is that you become totally dependent on them, so that when those true colors begin to show up, no matter how ugly those colors are, you are put in a place where living is difficult, especially when children come into that equation. And so to prove this point I made, the man that she was with before said, hunger will carry you and come back to this house. So in essence, he's just confirming that his hope is that by withholding money from her and financial freedom, she will have to come back and deal with his nonsense, regardless of whatever he does. So that's one thing you must never do. Never give up your career and your ambitions and your dreams because of love. Don't ever do it. That's the worst mistake you can make. And that's why a lot of men get triggered when they see women that are living like single mothers, divorcees. They'll be like, "Oh, you're a divorcee, you're a single mom, you're this." And they get angry. They start, cursing out women and saying, "Hey, you already failed in your relationship. That's why you want to go and, spoil the minds of other people." Because they want women to remain naive. They want us to keep believing in romance. Meanwhile, they are believing in something else. Okay? Now, the next thing that I want us to understand is this. A lot of men that want you to be a stay-at-home mom and all those things, they're coming from the angle of man is the provider, in the family. That is how God and nature made it. But that's not true. In the first place, Adam was not a provider to Eve, because Bible says that before God made man on the sixth day, before he made humans, he created everything that humans need, the air that we will breathe, the light we need to see on the earth, everything, up to the food and the water and the animals and everything. He created it all, and then he put Adam there. And the same way he created Adam and put him in a world that everything was provided, he also created Eve and put her there. So Eve was not depending on Adam. And that is why Bible says, "My God shall supply all your needs according to his riches in glory by Christ Jesus." It didn't say, "Your husband shall supply all your needs," or "Your father shall supply all your needs." So when you're no longer with your father, you now move to your husband. It doesn't mean that, a husband or a father will not provide and all that. Yes, those arrangements, those, or what's it called, gender roles came into play because after the fall, the world went haywire. Humanity began to really show some kind of signs of violence and all that. And that's why we saw the first unaliving happen, where a brother unalived his brother. We saw people begin to, practice polygamy. We heard about angels coming down to the earth, to take advantage of women and all that. So women were very vulnerable. They were the most vulnerable group in that whole mix of what was going on. And so men had to step up and say, "Okay, this woman belongs to me." And so it was actually them stepping up to become providers was an act of territoriality, not always necessarily an act of love. So because if you touch their woman, it is not how dare you hurt the one I love. It is often more about how dare you step into my territory. You are trying to undermine my manliness. And so you see them going out there to fight to maintain their manliness, to protect their territory, and not necessarily because I want to cherish the little ones or the weaker vessel in my care. That's one thing we need to understand. So gender roles may have their role that they have played, from time immemorial till now. But the truth remains that in God's original plan, men were not necessarily supposed to provide for women. It was supposed to be everybody works. And because when the Bible says, my God will supply all your needs, how does he supply those needs? He blesses the work of our hands. So if you don't work, you will not eat. Even the Bible said, let he who will not work not eat. But the sad thing is, as women, a lot of our labor at home, especially stay-at-home moms, ends up being unpaid. And then you find out that there are men that their wives will work and work, but they will not be given food. Some men become like taskmasters. They become wicked slave drivers. Their wives will work, but they will not still provide, even though they are taking on the responsibility of being the providers. So, the sad thing is also that man is not God and God is not man. And that is why you must never give up your ability to earn and your ability to fend for yourself into the hands of a man. Because Bible says that God is so kind that he makes his rain and his sun to shine and to fall on the good and the bad. But man is not like that. If a man likes you and thinks you are performing well, then they may show you some grace. But if a man doesn't think that you are doing what he wants you to do, he can end up, going against you and choosing to withhold from you. And when you're not doing what he wants you to do, it may not necessarily be that you're doing something wrong. It could be you standing up and saying, hey, you are encroaching on my human rights. You're overstepping my boundaries. I'm not comfortable. And that becomes a problem. So you never want to put yourself in a place where man becomes your God and the man would become the piper who will play your tune. So whenever he tells you to do something, that's what you have to do. If not, you will not have to eat. So in view of this, I want you to understand that life comes in times and seasons, in the same way that marriage comes in times and seasons. At the beginning, when there is romance and everything, a man may choose to be nice and gracious. But as the marriage progresses, things can go haywire. People have been married for 20 something, 30 something years, and things go bad. And then the woman ends up, out on the streets. And that's why the Bible advises us to learn from the animals like ants, that when there is summer, that they plant and they sow and they harvest, right? So that when the winter comes, they're not going to be stranded. Understand that in life, there will be summer, there will be fall, there will be winter. You never can tell. Nobody knows. That's Bible never said that, bad things will not happen to you. But he said, when you walk through the fire, when you walk through the fire, when you walk through the flood, I will be with you, right? So in the same way, he never guaranteed that if you marry a believer, nothing will happen, your marriage will be perfect. So you need to prepare for when, that is, if it happens. Nobody knows. Nobody goes into relationships expecting that nothing will go wrong. But if things go wrong, you want to be sure that you have not put all your eggs in a man's basket, only to find out that you became shortchanged. So in summary, I'm glad she took her destiny in her hands and hustled to never let his evil prophecy to manifest in her life. She hustled like a man day and night to escape that fate. So at the end of it all, it is important for you to make sure you hustle. Whether you have a good relationship, hustle. Whether you have a bad relationship, hustle. Whether you're a single lady, hustle. Whether hustle before life puts you in a place whether you still have to hustle. Especially you may now have to hustle with children depending on you. That's the worst kind of hustle. Life is hard. Choose your own kind of hard. And also understand that financial freedom is one of the key things you need if you come to a place where you need to leave, an abusive relationship. Don't give it up for anything. Hold on to it very tight as your birthright. Okay. Thanks. And I'll see you in my next video.